All right, I want to talk a little bit about this idea of banking, of banks, and of what crypto and decentralized finance are attempting to do. The goal, in my opinion, of crypto and Bitcoin and decentralized finance is not to get rid of the banking system. It's to make the banking system more efficient. So it's an evolution of the banking system. If we go back and think about what the banking system is, it really performs three functions. It's store my wealth. And my wealth can be just my money. My wealth can be assets that I own. My wealth can be part of assets that I own. So store my wealth, give me the ability to transact, give me the ability to exchange, to buy goods and services, to pay someone or for someone else to pay me, and then make an efficient system. And an efficient economic system says, let's take money or wealth from someplace where it's not very efficient, which could be sitting in my pocket, it could be under my mattress, it could be sitting in a coffee can, and move it to a place where it is efficient. And efficient means overall in the economy, meaning someone has an idea and the ability to execute a business or a business model or a business plan. Someone can take that money and make the economy, make more money or more wealth in the economy with the money that I have sitting in my wallet or under my mattress or a coffee can. So that's really the idea of the banking and financial system. I think those in Bitcoin and crypto argue against is the idea of actual banks. And banks are the entities that in the past for hundreds of years have performed those functions for us, right? They keep track of what we have. They allow us to safely store our money. They allow us to transact because they built rails between each other. And in the past, those rails were at times telegraph, they were at times telephone, they were at times mail going back and forth in certain processes. Now it's all digital and electronic, but it's still old technology. So the rails to be able to move money around, and then the ability to take the money that's sitting around and earn something on it and lend it or invest it in some company that can do something else with it. And so that's kind of the primary parts that banks have played. And the reason why we've had to use the entities we call banks is because we needed someone to trust. So we've said, look, we're going to wrap you banks in these regulations so that we can feel comfortable trusting you, so that we can go about our business. So I don't have to do all my due diligence on the place that's storing my money and allowing me to exchange it. The government has basically put guardrails around it to say these places are safe to be able to store your money. So if you go all the way back to the times of the Medicis in Italy, they were holding on to your gold. They would issue banknotes against your gold such that they were bearer instruments. I could go use those banknotes anywhere in the world, and whoever I gave those banknotes to could go back to the Medicis and say, I need this amount of gold. And then they were actually, investing that money. Well, the problem is when you put so much wealth, when you let an entity hold on to all that, they become very powerful. They get to enforce whatever friction they want because I need someone to be able to trust. They're holding on to my money. They're giving me the ability to exchange it. And therefore, they have a tremendous amount of power. They can exert a tremendous amount of friction on the system. If they don't want to work weekends, they don't work weekends. And they can all decide they're not going to work weekends. They can decide how much it costs for me to send my money, how long it takes for me to send my money somewhere else in the world, even though we don't necessarily have to use mail anymore. We can use all digital means. It can happen literally instantaneously that money gets transferred. It still might actually take days for me to transfer money. So banks can enact all this friction, which means, again, they have a tremendous amount of power. And much of that power utilized in governments to be able to keep the banks in power, to be able to keep the banks accumulating more wealth and more value such that they can just continue to accumulate power. So that, I think, is part of the problem, is that we have had to trust banks to run the banking or run the financial system, the system that says store my money, let me exchange my money, let me invest my money for the betterment of the overall economy. We've had to entrust banks. They become tremendously powerful because they want to continue to be the ones that do all that. But here's the thing. Here's where Bitcoin comes in. Originally was the idea that you and I can store our wealth. We can transact in it without having to go through banks because we have the technology to do so. So it's not getting rid of the banking or the financial system. It's going around the entities that have taken that trust and taken that need we have to make an efficient financial and banking system, taking that and utilizing that for their own power and for their own needs. And that, I think, is what many of us have an issue with. That's where Bitcoin started. That's where we've moved forward with smart contracts, with decentralized finance, with this idea of utilizing the technology that we have available through blockchain and crypto. I can store my assets. I can verify that they're stored. I can move them around instantaneously without having to go through the network that the bank's created. And I can invest them without the bank having to do it. Either I can decide, or I can pool my money with others, and we can decide what to do with our investments. And we can do that at scale without having to utilize the banks, the entities that we call banks. And the reason is, again, because we have the technology to do so. And it is not a revolution of the banking system. It is just an evolution of the banking system. I don't want to do anything different with my wealth or my money. I want to hold on to it. I want to know it's safe and secure. I want to be able to move it to wherever I need to. And I want to be able to invest and help myself and help others be more efficient with the money or the wealth that I have. I want to be a part of their efficiency, meaning I get some sort of interest or yield or some sort of growth in my wealth. That's what I need a banking system to do. And now that we have the technology with blockchain technology, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or Avalanche, smart contracts, decentralized finance, whatever, Web3, whatever we want to call it, I now have the ability to do those things I've always needed a banking or financial system to do, and I have the ability to do them without necessarily having to go through the entities that we call banks, because the banks have taken that trust and utilized it to their own benefit and continue to try to grow their political power and their own value without transferring that extra power and value to me, the person who's depositing, the person who is utilizing their network and their system. So again, Bitcoin, crypto, DeFi are an evolution of the banking and financial system we've had for millennia without the need for the entities we call banks that we've had for centuries, because technology takes away the need for some of those trust-based mechanisms that the entities that we call banks have, which is storing my money, moving my money around, and investing my money. If I can do all that and feel safe and secure about it and verify it without the need for the entities that are banks, then I can still take part in the banking or financial system without having to utilize banks. The technology makes it so. That is the evolution of the banking and financial system that we're seeing and that we're going to continue to see using crypto, Bitcoin, and blockchain technology.